today I want to just talk about a particular HDMI cable that I've decided to use and try using because I'm finding it quite good. And that's actually sort of something that I've found difficult to get hold of, an HDMI cable that's actually good for external recorders. So I'm talking about using it on something like this, something like the Atomos recorders, where you have to have them kind of sat and the cable's potentially going to be moving around, and it's just not an ideal connector, is it, really? I mean, in an ideal world, we'd all be using these, something like SDI connectors or, BNC standard here, which actually sort of clips on. It can be moved around like this. It doesn't matter because it's clamped in place. But no, a lot of cameras have HDMI connectors on them, so we don't have any choice. So finding a good cable is hard to do, but I've actually found this one, and I would recommend it. It's from, of all places, Maplin. And I'm not a big advocator of Maplin because I don't really like a lot of their stuff. It's not terribly expensive. I'm not the sort of person that believes in spending hundreds of pounds on cables because it's money completely wasted. And this is the box it came in. So I just want to sort of show you. It states that it's HDMI version 2 compatible, and does kind of suggest, therefore, that this will work up to 4K 60p if it's version 2, but whether you believe that or not is a different matter. So far, I've had absolutely no problems with it. So what's the big benefit of this cable? Well, it's kind of firstly the width of the cable, but also the stuff it's made from. It's very kind of rubbery and flexible, and that's a really good thing because I'll compare it to other cables that you get. So firstly, we've got this super cheap one here, and even this is, yes, it's flexible and it's thin, but it's more rigid than the kind of rubbery compound that one's made of. And then we have these ones that are supposedly kind of higher end. They're not in this case. These are not particularly expensive cables, but they're designed to appear to be high-end kind of product. They're designed to give the impression of quality. And what they do is they wrap them in this shielding that makes them incredibly rigid around the connector here. And the problem is, therefore, that if this is plugged into something like that and you knock this cable, the pressure on the connector is huge. If you knock this like this, if I move this, there's very little pressure on this because the cable gives. It's very flexible and it gives to allow you to. So if I move this around like that, yes, the connector's moving, but it's not moving a massive amount. And that's what I find good about it. So firstly, it's really short. It's as short as it possibly can be, really. So 0.75 meters, which is this exact box, is the one that I went for. And it's a super short, neat cable. It's just this blue one from Maplin. And so far, I've tried it at all resolutions. I've had no problems with it. I'm using it on the recorder here. This is currently 4K DCI. 24 frames a second, 10-bit. So, it's carrying that. You've seen me move it around and it had no problems. And it's so far so good. So definitely would recommend this one. It's really good. It has these ferrite beads on. Now, the reason it has these on, I don't know. It's either because the cable's so rubbish that it requires them to keep within interference spec or something like that. Or it's designed, again, just as a marketing thing to give the impression of quality. Either way, I don't really care because as long as it works, they're not heavy, they're not providing any major weight. And if it allows the cable to be a bit thinner, all the better because it's really nice, rubbery, flexible cable. So there we go. That's my recommendation of an HDMI cable that's dead nice to use, really easy to roll up and carry and plug in, and is reliable on these recorders. And hopefully that will stop you having any major problems with the HDMI port. I mean, you can still choose to lock your cable down somewhere, as people do, but if you want something convenient to just chuck in, this is a nice one to use.